Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the moon conjunct Pluto in Synastry. Now, first off, on the unconscious side, the inner personality, which is the moon/moon person, may be in sync and very integrated, strongly integrated with what the Pluto person has, that passion and desire for, and what they bring that emotional intensity in. Now, if the conjunction is in Virgo, say, it could be things, with, analytics, statistics, health, diet, nutrition. It could be extrapolating data. I have my natal Pluto in the 5th house, so it shows I could be fixated on extrapolating sports data perhaps. And now the thing is, this is more in terms of the the emotional needs matching with the Pluto person may have that passion, desire, even that fixation for. Would be more accurate if the moon and Pluto are in the same sign. In most instances, the moon and Pluto will be in the same zodiac sign. If it's not, there still could be very strong intensity with this conjunction. Conjunctions are neutral aspects. They're very intensifying and integrating. I mean, if you have, say, the moon conjunct Pluto in Synastry, but the moon and Pluto are in different signs, there still could be a strong connection. The Pluto person may be fixated on the moon person's inner personality and unconscious side, even if it's not in the same sign, because you have that conjunction, and the moon person may be strongly unconsciously attracted to the Pluto person due to could be their mysterious side. There's something secretive with the Pluto person that draws the moon person to him or her. And another thing, and it might be something powerful about the Pluto person as well, that's alluring to the moon person. But anyway, another thing about the Synastry aspect could be where it could be, this is a romantic connection. It could be very intense, sexual connection. If there is an intimate relationship that exists between the moon and Pluto person, the Pluto, if this, let's say, if this conjunction, say, is in Libra, it could be, just very charming, graceful, refined qualities, even some kind of beauty, something that brings that moon person and that Pluto person together. If the conjunction is in Scorpio, as another example, it could be something very mysterious, secretive, maybe something that's with qualities are about being resourceful, incisive, probing, those deep. Those are things of being able to go beyond the superficial, subterfuge and superficiality. This is where you can have more that strong connection, as another example. And another thing too is that the Pluto individual may have very intense desire to transform the moon person. And keep in mind, again, conjunctions are neutral aspects. They have good and bad qualities. Now, I know, when you say, oh, moon conjunct Pluto, this is a very intense connection, this and that, and yes, and that would be true. But the thing is, it still can have negatives. Remember, familiarity breeds contempt. You have, when you have conjunctions, and especially, I'd say, with the moon being involved, the moon can be very clingy and very overly protective. So you have to just remember, when you have this, to give each other a little bit of space periodically. If you're romantically involved with each other, and you have this Synastry aspect between the two of you. Now, another thing is that the moon person may frequently need support from the Pluto person, which can sometimes exasperate or irritate the Pluto person. The Pluto person may be, very, could be obsessed and infatuated with that moon person, their inner, personality, that unconscious side of him or her. Let's say its conjunction falls in Sagittarius, and the moon person has their moon in Sagittarius, then that unconscious side, the inner personality, can be one where the moon person, is very expansive, upbeat, optimistic, exuberant, very outdoorsy, of somebody that is very much enamored with sports and is jovial, has a good sense of humor, as some examples. And another thing too is if the connection is sexual between person A and B, it's likely a relationship that's not frivolous. It's not one that's going to be on the surface. It's one that may be a very deep emotional connection. And the thing is, the Pluto person may often try to control the moon person's responses to things, and the Pluto person may be very fixated on getting to know the moon person's their roots and their history, and going to the moon, being in Sagittarius again as an example, the roots of history could be where there's an ancestry connected with a lot of could be lawyers, publishers, advertisers, people involved in sports or the outdoors, people that were manders, constantly traveling abroad, as some examples. And also too, there could be, the two may in some instances be able to work well with the public, doing something Pluto related, because Moon has a connection with the public. It could be doing something Pluto related, which is could be something with insurance or taxes or investigation, forensics. It could be doing something with the occult, which includes astrology. Now, so I've stated in my earlier videos regarding natal chart placements, and the same applies to synastry, is that you never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person astrologically speaking based on that alone, because the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. And the same applies toward the synastry aspects. One synastry aspect doesn't make or break a relationship or a connection, and the moon conjunct Pluto is no exception. You're generally going to have a plethora of aspects between person A and person B. And this, when you, like, for this example, the moon conjunct Pluto, it's very intense, and could indicate a very deep connection between the moon person and the Pluto person. But let's say the Pluto person again may be very fixated and obsessed on that moon person's unconscious side. But the thing too is, it's also important to look at other synastry aspects that may modify this to some degree. Let's say you have two people have this aspect, moon conjunct Pluto and synastry, but let's say that those same people have the moon person has their moon. Let's say it's square or opposite the other person's Pluto, as another example. And that could indicate that Uranus person may often be trying to get some freedom and independence from the moon person due to the moon person being overly clingy. And that that connection can that could modify this moon conjunct Pluto interpretation to some degree. Now, the basic interpretation remains the same, but it could be a little bit less intense as a result, or let's say somebody had, one of the two people have like a dominant, like Gemini chart, right? And that could make that person a little bit more, one of those people a little bit more superficial and have a harder time committing to something that's very deep or protracted or sustained. So you have to factor everything in when you're delineating the Synastry charts. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.